The sirens started screaming just after midnight. Red lights flashed across the small-town police station in Cedar Falls, Iowa. Phones rang at the same time. Officers ran from their desks. A radio crackled with a broken voice saying there had been a crime, a bad one, and it happened on January 1st. On a quiet street near the edge of town, a house sat with its front door wide open. Snow covered the ground. Footprints went in many directions. Some were fresh. Some were already filling with ice. Inside the house, the living room was a mess. A chair was on its side. A lamp was broken. A window at the back was shattered. Cold air rushed in. And on the floor, near the kitchen, lay a man who was not moving. Officer Daniel Brooks stood still as he looked at the scene. He had been a police officer for 12 years. He had seen many bad things. But something about this felt wrong in a way he could not explain. On the wall above the man, written in dark red, were 2 words. January 1st. No one in the room spoke. Then the man on the floor moved. He gasped for air. And at that exact moment, the power went out in the house. Everything went black. That was when Daniel realized this night was far from over. Before this moment, January 1st had started like any other holiday. The town had celebrated the night before. Fireworks popped in the sky. People hugged. Music played. Drinks flowed. By morning, the streets were quiet again. Most people were asleep when the sun rose. But someone was already awake. Michael Turner lived alone in the house at the edge of town. He was 42 years old. He worked at a local hardware store. He did not cause trouble. He did not have many friends, but he was known as polite and calm. Neighbors said Michael liked routines. He woke up early. He walked his dog at the same time every day. He waved to people but did not talk much. On December 31st, Michael closed the store at 6 in the evening. He wished his co-workers a happy new year. He drove home. He fed his dog. He watched television. At 11:30, he turned the TV off. He never made it to midnight. That part was clear. What was not clear was who had come to his house. Or why. Back at the dark house, emergency lights from police cars painted the snow in red and blue. Officers used flashlights to move around. Paramedics rushed inside. Michael Turner was alive, but barely. He had a deep cut on his head. His hands were shaking. His eyes were wide open, but he did not seem to see anyone. They lifted him onto a stretcher. "Michael," a paramedic said loudly. "Can you hear me?" Michael's lips moved. "No," he whispered. Daniel leaned closer. "No what?" Michael swallowed. His throat was dry. "No more time," he said. Then his eyes rolled back. The paramedics rushed him to the hospital. Daniel stayed behind with Detective Sarah Collins. Sarah was tall, calm, and sharp. Crimes in Cedar Falls for 15 years. She did not panic easily. She looked at the broken window. "No sign of forced entry at the front," she said. "Back window broken from the outside." Daniel nodded. Someone wanted him awake, not asleep. Sarah turned her light to the wall. The words were still there. January 1st. "Who writes that?" Daniel asked. "Someone who wants us to see it," Sarah said. They moved through the house slowly. Nothing expensive was missing. The TV was still there. So was Michael's wallet. His phone was on the kitchen table, untouched. But there was something else. In the bedroom, the bed was made. On the pillow lay a small paper note. Sarah picked it up carefully. It had a date written on it. January 1st. And below it, 3 words. "You forgot me." Sarah felt a cold chill in her chest. "This wasn't random," she said. "No," Daniel agreed. "This was planned." As the morning went on, more officers arrived. The house was sealed off. Neighbors gathered at a distance, whispering to each other. One neighbor, an older woman named Linda Harris, spoke to Daniel. "I heard a loud bang," she said. "Around 11:45. I thought it was fireworks." "Did you see anyone?" Daniel asked. She shook her head. "No, but I heard someone running." "Running where?" "Around the back," she said. "Toward the woods." The woods behind Michael's house were thick and dark. Even during the day, it was hard to see far inside. Officers searched the area. They found footprints. They led deep into the trees. Then they stopped, as if the person had vanished. At the hospital, Michael was taken into surgery. Doctors worked fast. The cut on his head was serious. But what worried them more was his heart rate. It was unstable. Detective Sarah Collins waited outside the room. She wanted answers. She needed Michael to wake up. Hours passed. The sun rose. News spread through the town. People asked the same question. What happened in January 1st? By noon, Sarah got a call from the doctor. He's awake, the doctor said. But not for long. You can speak to him. Keep it short. Sarah entered the room. Michael looked smaller in the hospital bed. Pale. Weak. His eyes moved when she spoke his name. Michael, she said. I'm Detective Collins. You were attacked. We need your help. He blinked slowly. Do you know who did this? She asked. His mouth trembled. Yes, he said. Her heart jumped. Who? He looked at the ceiling. I thought it was over, he whispered. What was over? Sarah asked. His breathing became fast. January 1st, he said again. It always comes back. Sarah leaned closer. Michael, who came to your house? His eyes filled with fear. I didn't open the door, he said. They already had the key. Sarah froze. The key, she asked. Who had a key? Michael tried to turn his head, but winced in pain. Someone I trusted, he said. A machine next to the bed began to beep faster. A nurse stepped closer. Detective, the nurse said. You need to wrap it up. Sarah nodded. One last question, she said. Why January 1st? Michael's eyes locked onto hers. Because that's the day I ruined a life, he whispered. The machine beeped louder. Michael, Sarah said. His eyes closed. The nurse pushed her out of the room. Doctors rushed in again. Sarah stood in the hallway, her hands shaking. A life ruined. A key. A message written in blood. And a date that would not stay buried. As she walked back outside, her phone rang. It was Daniel. We found something, he said. In the woods. Yes, Daniel replied. His voice was tight. And you need to see it. Sarah looked back at the hospital room one last time. Then she turned and walked toward the exit. She did not know yet that what Daniel found would change everything they thought they knew about January 1st. And somewhere in Cedar Falls, someone was watching the news. Waiting. Because the worst part of January 1st had not happened yet. The woods were quiet in a way that felt wrong. Detective Sarah Collins followed Officer Daniel Brooks through the narrow path behind Michael Turner's house. Snow crunched under their boots. The air was cold and still. No birds. No wind. Daniel stopped near a group of tall trees. It's here, he said. Sarah raised her flashlight. At first, she saw nothing but snow and branches. Then she saw it. A shallow hole in the ground. Not deep. Not neat. Like someone had dug in a hurry, then stopped. Beside the hole lay something dark against the white snow. A glove. Sarah crouched down. This isn't Michael's, she said. Daniel shook his head. Too small. And look inside. Sarah carefully picked it up with a glove of her own. Inside was a name written in black marker. Emily Parker. Sarah felt her chest tighten. Who is that? Daniel asked. I don't know, Sarah said. But if her name is here, she matters. They searched the area more. Near the hole, they found more footprints. Smaller than Michael's. Different boots. Leading away, then circling back. Like someone had stood there for a long time. Thinking. Then leaving. Back at the station, Sarah sat at her desk and typed the name into the system. Emily Parker. The screen loaded. Then stopped. Then showed a file. Sarah stared. Emily Parker. Female. Age 29. Status, missing. Date reported missing, January 1st. 10 years ago. Sarah leaned back in her chair slowly. 10 years. Daniel walked up behind her. You okay? Emily Parker disappeared 10 years ago, Sarah said. On January 1st. Daniel was quiet. She knew Michael, he said finally. Yes, Sarah replied. And whatever happened back then never stayed buried. They pulled up the old case. Emily Parker had lived in Cedar Falls once. She worked at a daycare. She was friendly. Smiled in photos. Loved kids. On December 31st, 10 years ago, she went to a New Year's party. She never came home. Michael Turner's name appeared in the file. Not as a suspect. As a witness. He told police he saw Emily leave the party early. Alone. Upset. That was it. The case went cold within a year. No body. No arrest. Emily was slowly forgotten. Until now. Sarah's phone rang. The hospital. Michael Turner was stable. Still weak. But awake again. Sarah drove there right away. Michael looked worse than before. Pale. Tired. Afraid. You found it, he said before she could speak. The woods, Sarah replied. The glove. Emily Parker. Michael closed his eyes. I knew this day would come, he whispered. Michael, Sarah said firmly. I need the truth. What happened 10 years ago? He swallowed hard. That night, Emily and I argued, he said. She found out. Found out what? Sarah asked. I was lying, he said. About money. About who I was. His hands shook. She threatened to go to the police, he continued. She said she would tell everyone. Sarah felt her heart pound. What did you do? She asked. Michael's eyes filled with tears. I followed her, he said. Into the woods. Sarah held her breath. She fell, Michael said quickly. She hit her head. I swear. I didn't plan it. Did she die? Sarah asked. Michael hesitated. I don't know, he said. She stopped moving. I panicked. I ran. Sarah stood up slowly. You left her there, she said. Yes, Michael whispered. Every January 1st, I think about it. I wait for it. For what? Sarah asked. Michael looked at the door. For her, he said. A loud noise echoed down the hospital hallway. A crash. Shouting. Sarah turned. A nurse screamed. Security, someone yelled. Daniel's voice came through Sarah's radio. Sarah, he said urgently. We have a problem. What kind of problem? She asked. The kind that means Michael Turner wasn't the only one hiding a secret, Daniel said. Sarah looked back at Michael. Who attacked you? She demanded. Michael's eyes widened. She found me, he whispered. Sarah's blood ran cold. That's not possible, she said. Michael grabbed her wrist with sudden strength. She never left those woods, he said. But someone else did. Before Sarah could ask more, the lights in the hospital flickered, then went out. Screams filled the hall. And somewhere nearby, a door slammed shut. The hospital fell into chaos. Emergency lights turned on, painting the halls in dark red. Nurses ran. Patients shouted. Somewhere down the hall, glass shattered. Detective Sarah Collins stood frozen for half a second. Then training took over. She pulled her arm free from Michael Turner's weak grip and stepped back. Stay here, she ordered him. Michael was shaking. His eyes were wide with fear. They are here, he whispered. Just like before. Sarah ignored the fear rising in her chest and rushed into the hallway. Officer Daniel Brooks appeared from the darkness, his flashlight sweeping left and right. Backup is on the way, he said. Someone forced a side door open. Who? Sarah asked. Daniel shook his head. We don't know yet. A loud bang echoed from the stairwell. Both of them turned. A shadow moved at the end of the hall, then disappeared. They ran. By the time they reached the stairwell, it was empty. The door to the emergency exit was swinging open. Cold air rushed inside. Outside, fresh footprints marked the snow. Too many. Daniel crouched. These aren't hospital shoes, he said. Boots. At least 2 people. Sarah's heart dropped. Michael said someone else left those woods 10 years ago, she said. This isn't just one person. Sirens grew louder as more police cars arrived. The hospital was locked down. Michael Turner was moved under guard. But Sarah could not shake the feeling that they were already behind. The next morning, Cedar Falls woke up scared. News stations talked about the attack. About the missing woman from 10 years ago. About January 1st. People began calling the police. Tips poured in. Most were useless. But one call changed everything. A man named Robert Hayes came forward. He said he worked security at the New Year's party 10 years ago. I saw Emily Parker leave, he said. But she wasn't alone. Sarah met him at the station. Who was with her? She asked. Robert rubbed his hands together nervously. A woman, he said. Tall. Dark coat. I didn't recognize her. Why didn't you report this before? Sarah asked. Robert looked down. Because no one asked me. And because she scared me. Scared you how? She looked angry, he said. Like she had waited a long time. Sarah left the room and walked straight to Daniel. We're missing someone, she said. A woman connected to Emily Parker. Daniel frowned. We ran checks. No close family in town. Sarah thought for a moment. Unless she changed her name, she said. They reopened the old case files. Hours passed. Then Daniel stopped typing. Sarah, he said quietly. She walked over. On his screen was a photo. 2 women stood together, smiling at the camera. Emily Parker. And another woman. Name, Rachel Moore. Relationship, older sister. Status, left Cedar Falls shortly after Emily's disappearance. No forwarding address. Sarah felt her pulse race. She came back, Sarah said. After 10 years. And she waited, Daniel added. At that moment, Sarah's phone rang. The hospital again. Her stomach dropped before she even answered. "This is Nurse Kelly," the voice said, shaking. "Michael Turner is gone." "What do you mean gone?" Sarah asked. "He disappeared," the nurse said. "His guard was found unconscious. The window in his room is open." Sarah closed her eyes. "Did anyone see anything?" she asked. There was a pause. Then the nurse said, "There was a note." Sarah felt cold all over. "What did it say?" The nurse swallowed. "It just said, January 1st isn't over yet." Sarah grabbed her coat. Outside, snow began to fall again. Soft, quiet, like it was trying to erase everything. But Sarah knew the truth. This was no longer about the past. Someone was finishing what started on January 1st, and the night was far from over. Snow fell harder as night returned to Cedar Falls. Detective Sarah Collins stood outside the hospital, staring at the open window where Michael Turner had disappeared. Red and blue lights flashed around her. Officers searched the area. Dogs barked in the distance. Michael Turner was gone. Again. But this time, he had not run. Someone had taken him. Sarah knew that now. She walked back to her car and slammed the door shut. Her hands were shaking, but her mind was clear. Too clear. "This is Rachel Moore," she said out loud. "It has to be." Daniel Brooks got into the passenger seat. "We searched buses, hotels, rental cars," he said. "Nothing yet." "She planned this," Sarah replied. "She didn't rush. She waited 10 years. Daniel nodded. "And she wanted Michael alive." Sarah looked at him. "No. She wanted him afraid." They drove in silence for a moment. Then Daniel spoke again. "There's something else," he said. "The guard who was attacked, he said he heard a woman's voice before he blacked out." Sarah gripped the steering wheel tighter. "What did she say?" Sarah asked. Daniel swallowed. "He said," she whispered, "you don't remember me." "But he does." Sarah felt a chill crawl up her spine. They returned to the station. On Sarah's desk lay the old case file of Emily Parker. Photos, notes, maps. Sarah spread them out again. Emily was last seen near the woods behind Michael's house. The glove was found there. Rachel's anger made sense. But something still did not. "She didn't kill Michael at the house," Daniel said, thinking out loud. "She could have. She wanted him to suffer," Sarah said. "To relive it." Sarah's phone buzzed. A text message. Unknown number. Daniel leaned closer as Sarah opened it. A photo appeared on the screen. Michael Turner. Alive. Tied to a chair. Behind him was a wooden wall. A cabin. Sarah's breath caught. Below the photo was a message. "Come alone. Midnight. You owe her." Daniel looked at Sarah. "That's a trap." "Yes," Sarah said. "And I'm walking into it." They tracked the location from the photo. Deep in the woods. An old hunting cabin once owned by Emily Parker's family. No longer in use. Of course. Daniel grabbed his jacket. "You're not going alone." "I have to," Sarah said. "If she sees police, Michael dies." Daniel's jaw tightened. "Then I'll be close. Very close." Midnight came fast. The woods were dark. Thick. Silent. Sarah parked her car far away and walked the rest of the path on foot. Snow reached her ankles. Every sound felt too loud. The cabin appeared ahead. A single light glowed inside. Sarah raised her hands slowly as she approached. "I came," she called out. "Just me." The door creaked open. Rachel Moore stood there. She was taller than Sarah remembered from the photo. Her face was thin. Her eyes were tired, but full of fire. "You're late," Rachel said. "It's midnight," Sarah replied. "Just like you asked." Rachel smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Come in," she said. Inside, Michael Turner sat tied to a chair. His face was bruised. His mouth was taped shut. His eyes filled with tears when he saw Sarah. Rachel closed the door behind them. "You know what happened," Rachel said. "You know what he did." "I know what he says he did," Sarah replied. "I also know Emily deserves the truth." Rachel laughed softly. "The truth," she said. "He left her to die." Rachel stepped closer to Michael. "He listened as she begged," Rachel said. "He walked away." Michael shook his head violently. Rachel ripped the tape from his mouth. "I didn't know if she was dead." Michael shouted. "I was scared." Rachel raised her hand and slapped him. The sound echoed through the cabin. "Fear didn't stop you from sleeping every night," Rachel said. "Fear didn't stop you from living." Sarah stepped forward. "This ends tonight," Sarah said. "Let him go." Rachel turned to her. "No," she said. "Tonight, January 1st finally ends. Rachel reached into her coat. Sarah's heart stopped. Rachel pulled out a small remote. I set something up, Rachel said calmly. Something buried in the woods. Sarah realized too late. Rachel, she said slowly, what did you do? Rachel smiled. I made sure the truth doesn't stay hidden, she said. Outside, deep in the woods, the ground began to shake. And somewhere beneath the snow, something started to come apart. The cabin shook again. Snow fell from the ceiling. The walls creaked. A deep sound rolled through the ground, low and heavy, like something breaking far away. Michael screamed. What did you do? Sarah shouted. Rachel stood calm. Too calm. I buried the truth where it started, Rachel said. In the woods. Where my sister fell. Sarah's mind raced. You planted something, she said. An explosion. Rachel shook her head. No. Something louder than words. Something no one can ignore. Another shake hit the cabin. Outside, a deep cracking sound echoed through the trees. Daniel Brooks, hidden with other officers a short distance away, felt it too. What the hell was that? One officer asked. Daniel grabbed his radio. Sarah, talk to me. Inside the cabin, Sarah's radio crackled, but she did not answer. Rachel walked to the window and looked out. 10 years, she said softly. 10 years of silence. Tonight, everyone listens. Sarah stepped closer to Michael. Rachel, Sarah said, keeping her voice calm. Emily deserves justice. Not this. Rachel turned sharply. Justice, she snapped. He never paid. No jail. No trial. Nothing. Michael cried. I'm sorry, he said. I think about her every day. Rachel laughed bitterly. Sorry doesn't wake the dead, she said. Another rumble shook the ground. This time, it was closer. A loud crack split the air. Sarah realized the truth. You didn't bury a bomb, she said. You weakened the ground. Rachel smiled. The old mine tunnels, she said. They run under these woods. Under the town. Sarah's blood ran cold. If they collapse, Sarah said, people could die. Rachel's eyes filled with tears, but her voice stayed firm. People already died, she said. Just slowly. Quietly. Outside, police radios exploded with noise. Sinkhole, an officer shouted. The ground is giving way. Daniel looked toward the woods. Trees leaned. Snow slid. The earth opened with a deep roar. A section of ground collapsed near the old trail. Evacuate the area. Daniel yelled. Back in the cabin, Michael cried harder. You're killing everyone, he begged. Rachel turned to him slowly. No, she said. I'm ending the lie you lived with. Sarah stepped between them. Rachel, she said. Look at me. Emily wouldn't want this. Rachel hesitated. For the first time, her hand shook. Another loud crack thundered beneath them. The cabin floor dipped slightly. Sarah felt it under her feet. The tunnel is right under us, Sarah said. This place will fall. Rachel looked around. Fear flashed across her face. Too late. The ground dropped. The cabin tilted sharply to one side. Michael's chair slid across the floor. Sarah grabbed him, fighting to keep them upright. Rachel lost her balance and hit the wall hard. Outside, Daniel saw the cabin shift. Oh no, he whispered. The earth gave one final, violent shake, and the cabin began to sink. The cabin dropped another inch. Wood snapped. Nails screamed as they pulled free. Snow poured through new cracks in the walls. Sarah held onto Michael with both arms. Don't move, she shouted. Michael cried as the chair tipped. One leg broke off and slid into a dark gap in the floor. Rachel lay against the wall, stunned. Blood ran from a cut on her head. The ground shook again. Outside, Daniel Brooks ran toward the trees, ignoring shouts behind him. Daniel, stop, an officer yelled. The ground is unstable. Daniel did not stop. He could see the cabin sinking, slow but steady, like it was being swallowed. Inside, Sarah dragged Michael toward the door. The door was stuck. She kicked it. Once. Twice. It did not move. Rachel pushed herself up, dizzy. You can't leave, she said weakly. It has to end here. Sarah turned on her. This isn't justice, Sarah said. This is another mistake. Rachel laughed, then coughed. You don't understand, she said. Every January 1st, I hear her voice. The floor cracked wide open. A dark hole split the room in two. Cold air rushed up from below. Michael screamed. Sarah grabbed a fallen beam and used it as leverage, forcing the door open. It burst outward. Snow and wind slammed into the cabin. Now! Sarah yelled. She pulled Michael toward the door. Rachel stayed behind. This is where it started, Rachel said. This is where it ends. Another violent shake hit. The hole in the floor widened. The cabin tilted even more. Daniel burst through the trees just as the roof caved in on one side. Sarah, he shouted. Sarah pushed Michael out the door and onto the snow. Daniel ran forward and grabbed Michael. Get him out. Sarah screamed. Daniel pulled Michael back, slipping on ice. The cabin groaned. Rachel stood in the doorway, swaying. Sarah reached for her. Rachel, she yelled. Come with me. Rachel looked at Sarah. For a moment, her face softened. Then the ground collapsed. The cabin dropped fast. Sarah jumped back as the floor vanished. Wood, snow, and darkness fell into the earth. Rachel disappeared with it. The sound was loud. Then it stopped. Silence. Daniel pulled Sarah away just as the edge of the ground crumbled again. They fell back into the snow, breathing hard. Michael sobbed behind them. Searchlights cut through the trees. More officers arrived. The hole where the cabin stood was now a wide pit, deep and dark. No movement inside. Daniel looked at Sarah. She's gone, he said. Sarah stared into the pit. Maybe, she said. Or maybe January 1st still isn't finished. As if on cue, Sarah's radio crackled. Detective Collins, a voice said urgently. We have another collapse. Where? Sarah asked. A pause. Then the voice said, near the town, under a residential street. Sarah's heart sank. The ground was still moving, and whatever Rachel had started was not done yet. The town sirens wailed again. This time, they were louder than before. Detective Sarah Collins and Daniel Brooks rushed into their cars and sped toward town. Snow whipped across the windshield. Police radios talked over each other. Panic filled every voice. A street collapsed near Maple Avenue, dispatch said. Houses are damaged. We don't know if anyone is trapped. Sarah felt sick. The mine tunnels. Rachel had not stopped at the woods. She had weakened the ground under the town itself. They arrived to chaos. A section of road had fallen inward like a broken mouth. A car sat tilted at the edge. A fire hydrant sprayed water into the freezing air. People stood in pajamas and coats, crying and shouting. Get everyone back. Daniel yelled. Firefighters worked fast. Police knocked on doors and pulled people outside. A woman screamed that her husband was still inside their house. Sarah ran toward the edge of the collapse. The ground cracked under her boot. Careful. Daniel shouted. She backed away. The earth was not done moving. A city engineer ran up to them. These tunnels are everywhere, he said. Old. Unmapped. If one goes, others can follow. Sarah thought of Rachel's words. Tonight, everyone listens. At the hospital, doctors worked on Michael Turner. He was alive, but weak. His heart could barely keep up. Daniel checked in on him. Michael grabbed his sleeve. She planned it, Michael whispered. She showed me maps. Marked spots. Daniel's eyes widened. How many? He asked. Michael swallowed. 3, he said. The woods. The street. And one more. Daniel leaned closer. Where? He asked. Michael's eyes filled with fear. Under the old school, he said. Daniel felt his chest tighten. The old elementary school sat in the center of town. It was closed for the holiday, but not empty. A New Year's community shelter was set up inside. Families. Children. Daniel ran. Police cars screamed through town again. Sarah arrived at the school seconds later. People were still inside. Get everyone out. Sarah shouted. Officers rushed in. Teachers and volunteers herded people toward the exits. The floor trembled. Light fixtures shook. A loud crack echoed through the building. Move. Sarah screamed. Children cried. Parents ran. The ground split near the front hallway. Concrete fell inward. Dust filled the air. Daniel pulled a child out just as the floor dropped behind them. They stumbled outside. The school groaned like it was alive. Then the center of the building collapsed. A deep, crushing roar filled the night. Silence followed. Snow drifted down onto the ruins. Sirens wailed in the distance. Sarah stood frozen, staring at the destroyed school. Daniel turned to her, his face pale. Is everyone out? He asked. Sarah did not answer. She was counting, and she was not sure the number was right.